And I say it a lot, and I say it a lot in my early podcast episodes, like, no one is coming to save you. It is just you now. So if you're not going to look after you, who's going to look after you? You can't expect somebody to come into your life and be able to figure out all the stuff that's going on in your brain because they're not you. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself, Lou. Hope we're all okay. Welcome back to my Tuesday. Now, I am super productive this week, recording on a Tuesday. I have had so many messages from my birthday that I feel like I went back into work Monday and had so many people to reply to. And like over the weekend, I had said that I was taking some time off, and I feel like when you work from your phone, it's really hard to like switch off. And even though I did definitely take some time off, my phone obviously it's hard because you can see like the messages coming up, and I just love all you guys. Like, you just keep me so busy. But I had like a whole day of replying to messages yesterday, and then I was like, right, I'm going to get on recording my podcast episode for this week today, and then I am going to do my single winter series and the recordings for that this afternoon. So I've basically just spent the whole morning again replying to DMs. I'm really sorry, guys. If you're watching this, you'll be able to see the fluff that is going past my camera that looks like an orb. It's not, it's just dust, which is annoying because my house is clean, but I can still see it. Why is it just floating around? It's doing my head in. Somebody the other day, so kind of you as well, if you are listening, which I think you are quite a continued listener, someone tagged me in a post the other day. Someone was on about saying to someone like that they should start a podcast. And someone tagged me in a post saying that like I did it all on my own. And they were like, oh, they tagged me like Lula on TikTok, and it was like she does her podcast all by herself. And then she was like, I don't know whether she still does. I still do all of my podcast all on my own. I have some big plans for it next year, but I think that like I just wanted to be able to build as much as I could without having somebody else help me, because I'm very like much a perfectionist. I like things done in my way, and if it works, don't like you don't have to fix it. Yes, my resolution could be a little bit better with my screen and stuff, but I'm happy with how it comes out. I'm happy with how the episodes come out, and I think it's one of them that like when you are starting out, I know podcasts that were going for like 3-4 years before anybody kind of like got hold of them, or they approached somebody. And I think a lot of people these days, when you talk to online creators, I think they think that like opportunities are going to land in your lap because of like the presence that you have, or like, you know, who you know or who you're associated with. And that is just not the case. Like more and more these days, like brands are expecting you to reach out to them. And I had a bit of an idea in the shower this morning when I was washing my hair, and I think I see so many people reach out to brands about like sportswear, athleisure wear, and like makeup and stuff. And I'm 100% going to make it my mission to reach out to all the supermarkets this year: Tesco, Morrison's, M&S, Ocado, Iceland, Asda. I'm going to reach out to all of them, and I'm going to say, can we have a discount code for Christmas shopping, like the food shop? I just think like the amount of people that like are my audience that come to me. I have so many single parents like that have relationships that have broken down, and they've been coming up to Christmas this year. I mean, I don't know what will come from it. I don't know whether they would take me seriously or not, but I just think like that would help so many people. Like so many people. If I could get a discount code for a supermarket and say like 20% off your Christmas shop, like Christmas food shop, I would friggin' love that. I obviously hosted Christmas for like 2019, 20, 21. Yeah, so I hosted Christmas for like 3 years, and I got my Christmas food shop from M&S, and it is so expensive. I wanted the best of the best, and obviously you think that you're getting the best of the best. Actually, I did M&S and Aldi. I got all like the meats and stuff from M&S, and then went to Aldi. Obviously, it's different for me now because I can't eat the Christmas snacks. When I put my Christmas tree up, which is going to be part of my winter single series. I'm going to talk to you about like all the different things that you can do in December and things that like you can actually enjoy doing by yourself in December. But when I have my Christmas night, when I put my Christmas tree up and stuff, one, I don't know where I'm going to put my Christmas tree this year because I've changed the entirety of my downstairs. And two, I can't eat a lot of the food because it's not gluten free. And that was my favourite part of Christmas, is the Christmas food. Annoying. Maybe next year I will approach these supermarkets again and say, hey, we want sausage rolls too. We want all of the different things. We want all the pastries to go with it too. We want big fat, like nice crusty bread to go in our camembert. It's such a sad scene. Christmas gluten-free is a sad scene, and people go, oh, it's not that bad. Picky bits, it's bad. It is bad. I'm hosting the Christmas Girls Night again this year because I just think I have the kid-free house. I don't have to worry about leaving the kids, putting the kids to bed, organising childcare. I have the easiest way of like hosting because I don't have any children. And so I'm going to host the girls' night this year. And I've said to them all, like, just transfer me some money and I'll go and get some food. And I'm like, what am I even going to eat? Anyway, I don't digress massively. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the discount code. Or like a discount code for like not on the high street would be quite nice as well. You know, like somewhere where people do their Christmas shopping. And I've seen a lot of people like they get Boots discounts codes and stuff, but like I wouldn't necessarily do my Christmas shopping there. So like I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to make it a mission in the next 2 weeks to reach out to some places and say, hey, I've got this many followers on TikTok, I've got this many followers on Instagram. Is there any way we could have a little discount code to help people? And obviously it'd be like affiliated, so I would earn off of it, and I would be completely transparent about that. I would earn off of it, but obviously it would benefit you guys on your Christmas shop. I don't know. It's just a thought. It just randomly came to me whilst I was in the shower today because I saw a girl put a discount code on. I can't remember what it was for. And I thought, that's really good. That's really useful. But what would be more useful is if I could get 20% off my wine for Christmas. Maybe they have like, maybe that wouldn't work. Maybe that's why they don't do it, because of the alcohol. Maybe they'd have to restrict the alcohol. I mean, I would only want it because of the alcohol. Who knows? I'm going to be the girl this year that turns up to Christmas with the crate of red wine. Now I'm in my red wine era. Who even knew? Again, something that's coming to my winter single series. I have decided that I am going to research my wines this year, and I am going to buy a wine that complements every course for Christmas. That is going to be my contribution to Christmas. I can't wait. It's my forte. Everyone knows that. We drink a lot of wine. Anyway, catch up from the weekend. It was my birthday. It was glorious. I had such a lovely birthday. So nice. If you've listened to my previous episode, you know that I had a very reflective episode last week. It was very rambly, but I would say that I have not achieved loads outwardly this year. I obviously had to pull out of the marathon. I've pulled out of several half marathon races. I have not raced at all this year because of my injury, and I'm still very aware of my injury. Ran on the treadmill the other day, got a very little twinge. I am hopefully going to be running a marathon next year. I said 2026 was the year I gave myself a break, but no, I just can't. I have zero chill. It's got to be a marathon next year because I didn't do one this year. So I don't think I'm going to put pressure on myself to run for a time next year. I think I'm just going to go. I think I'm going to do Brighton, but I have got a small opportunity to do London, which I could take, but I'm unsure yet. I don't know whether that's too much pressure. Again, with like my life and how chaotic it is, and me wanting to move to out of the country next year as well, it may just be a little bit too much. But I'm very excited to get back into training. I'm very excited to be able to come and talk to you guys about running as well. I try and keep a running presence on my page, but it is quite hard because I know there's lots of people following me for other content now. So I try and get it in where I can, but like I said, it is quite difficult. I also have some news. I have obviously got my 30-day no contact guide, and I have listened to what you guys have been saying. And I have got in the making a no contact guide for when you're co-parenting. Now, I asked my therapist to help me with this, and she said it's quite difficult because her name would have to go on it. And I don't really want to be putting her name on something that she's not that she didn't want to help me, but like it'd have just overcomplicated it. So she said, why don't you ask a couple of people about what they struggle with and apply your guide to those situations and how it would differ if there was somebody else in those situations, e.g. an ex that is either the mum or the dad, and how you have to obviously co-parent with them. So that is in the pipeline. I cannot tell you how many people ask for that. So hopefully I've listened and hopefully I've produced something that is useful, because it's all well and good doing a no contact guide when you've still got to contact somebody because of co-parenting or work. I feel like I have a little bit of experience, obviously, with having to continue to work with my ex. But again, it was easy because there was a third party, there was his business partner. So it wasn't that hard, but it still was quite difficult. So that's in the pipeline, along with my winter single series, which I'm very, 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 very excited about. Now, I changed locations in this series. I was going to sit on my thing down there, but I also can sit on my sofas. So I'm very excited for that, because it was something that I felt drawn to do because of how many people messaged me over the winter saying that they struggle. So that is not going to be available on my YouTube or this channel. It is only going to be available on my Patreon. Now, I will post some previews so you can see whether it is something that you fancy. I'm going to post a preview on my Instagram, but there will also be a preview on my Patreon, so you can come, have a look, see if it's something that you want. These will take two forms. It will be video and audio, so you don't just have to watch, but I feel like the whole idea of the series is that something that you can put on your laptop or your phone or your TV when you are in doing whatever, decorating, and you feel less alone doing things like that. So that was kind of like the thought process behind it. So yeah, lots of exciting things happening. Very busy girl. I don't know how I cram everything in. It is wild. So yes, I had a very nice weekend celebrating my birthday. I don't know how I got onto all of that through just saying that I was celebrating my birthday. I had a lady come up to me in the bar that we were in. She threw her arms around me and she was like, oh my God, your podcast has saved me. And for the life of me, I cannot remember her name, because she caught me after drinking around 10 Aperol Spritz on a bottomless brunch. But all I know is that she flung her arms around me. I flung my arms around her. We said loads of stuff to each other. It was hilarious. I will never forget the first time that I got approached at the German markets, and I thought, this is wild. And I still love talking to you guys. I then woke up to a message from somebody who said that they had saw me out. Again, I was like, oh my God, because I was quite drunk. I say quite, I was very drunk. And she said that she wanted to come over and say hi. Guys, if you see me out, it's a little bit strange, because I'm like, oh, I forget that I put myself out on the internet, because this feels like a safe space to me. It feels like we are a community, and that, I don't know, I just forget that there is like 5,000 people listening to this, because I've got 5,000 followers on my podcast. I then forget I've got people that follow me on Instagram and all sorts. Like, I do tend to forget I put myself out online, and that sounds so stupid, because it is such a safe space and a safe environment. But please always come and say hi to me. Please always just come and talk to me. I will literally talk to anybody. And don't ever feel embarrassed like coming up to me and saying that you follow me on Instagram, follow me on my podcast, follow me on like TikTok or anything. Like, you're the reason why I can continue to do this, and you've supported me through as much as you say that I've supported you. So please never feel nervous or embarrassed about coming up and saying hi. My friends are all really nice as well. So if you would approach me, I had it in the coffee shop a few weeks ago. It was Halloween, a group of girls came up to me and they're like, we follow you on TikTok, and my friends were like hugging them, I was hugging them. Like, they all know how, like, my friends know how much hard work goes into this and how much effort and how passionate I am about doing this. And so like, they're only going to support me, and like I said, you guys support me, so they'd support you. So never ever feel embarrassed about coming up and saying hi. And I will say, just, I encourage it. Like, come and say hi more. Come and say hi to me. If you do see me around my area, which is the Midlands, so if you are Midlands based and you do see me, please just come and say hi to me. Anyway, today I'm talking about a topic that is widely spoken about online, and you will see loads of things about like know your worth. I'm talking about self-worth, and the reason why I'm doing this is because sometimes, in fact, every couple of months, I have to check back in with myself to know that I am not just getting complacent with knowing my worth, because it is one of those things that's really hard to actually think about by not just thinking, oh, I'll just do this many affirmations a day. Oh, I'll just do this. Oh, I'll just write in my journal. And I always caveat this and say, I am the biggest advocate for stuff like that. I do my affirmations every morning. I, brush my teeth. I stand in my mirror. I think about them in my head. I journal absolutely everything. But sometimes self-worth isn't about that. It's about digging deeper and knowing that people's reactions and people's experiences of you and how people perceive you is not a reflection of your self-worth. And so I'm going to deep dive into this topic. I'm very excited about doing this because as I step into my single status, I want to talk more on being a single woman, and I will keep the breakup talk going. I talk so much on my Patreon about different topics to do with my breakup, and I go from like money to sex to situationships to arguments to no contact to absolutely everything you can think about. I talk about on my Patreon. I want to still keep that flowing through this account. However, I do want to also talk more about empowering people, not just women, but empowering people so they become more confident. So you know your self-worth. You're not just saying, I know my worth. Or you're not just saying to another person, like, know your worth. Because sometimes those words can be quite empty and not have the impact that they should have. And so I'm going to talk about it. I'm excited for this episode. Without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So I'm going to start off with saying this. Your self-worth isn't destroyed by one big event. It's chipped away at. And when you realize this, you actually become a little bit more aware of things that may have happened during your relationship that you were like, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter. And then like passing it off and saying and dismissing things. And then when you went through your breakup, it felt like you lost all your self-worth because you were left. And that is not the case at all. Your self-worth would have been slowly chipped away at, like time and time and time and time again. Being dismissed when you talk about your needs. Being the chilled out one just to avoid conflict. I was so guilty for that. I was so guilty for that. And then apologizing for absolutely everything. So when I used to say to my friends like, oh, like, we don't really argue because we're just so chilled, I was always the one that kind of started the arguments because I was always challenging my ex on something. Like, and I don't mean that in like I was like nitpicking all the time, but like if I said please don't do that and he did it, I'd be like, why have you done that? So I did have a voice in my relationship, but then I was always like, I don't need to argue about this. This didn't need to be an argument. And I then ended up apologizing for literally just having a basic boundary. And I hadn't realized that all of these things were like chipping at my self-worth. Staying because you were tolerated, not because you were chosen. Like being undervalued, but not even just in your relationship, being undervalued at work, being undervalued within your family, being undervalued in your friendships. Like, do you find like you're doing a lot for your friends and not really getting a lot in return? Like, do you show up for all of the birthday parties and the children's birthday parties and people don't really show up for you? These things will all go against your self-worth. And the truth is, your self-worth didn't just disappear. It literally just didn't disappear. You have disconnected from it. And the disconnection often starts when you choose someone else's comfort over your own truth. And so if you are putting people first before you, you will find that you have disconnected from your self-worth. And when I talk about rebuilding your self-worth, I mean like recognizing every single time that you can remember that you abandoned yourself and gently coming back home. And I think often online you will see that people are like, build your confidence, do this, do that. And it's like, hold on a second, no. Let's just start by recognizing where you abandoned yourself. Let's just start with the slow and emotional and hard conversations that you have to have with yourself to rebuild a foundation, because without it, every single self-help, self-worth hack would just fall apart, because you wouldn't have sat there and gone, oh, hold on a second, actually, that would have been going against my self-worth. Like I said, I was always the one that would say, don't really like that. Like, I don't really like it when you do that. Is there any way that, you know, you can't do that or refrain from doing that, because you're kind of stepping over a boundary of mine? And then when that boundary was stepped all over, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I didn't like that. Then I'd be told that I was starting an argument out of nothing, and I'd want to be chill because I'd want him to think that we were so chilled out and we're just a chilled out couple. And I don't know whether I said it on here or whether I said it on my Patreon, but there's that meme. No, it's a skit. Sorry, there's a girl doing a skit on TikTok and she's like, we're just so chilled out. Like, we're just such a chilled out couple. Like, we barely argue. Like, we're so chilled. And that was me. I used to say that and I'd be like, we barely argued because, one, if we argued, I'd just get walked away from. So that we didn't argue because there was no argument, because my ex would just leave. And we didn't argue because I would be like, what's the point of bringing something up? Like, I'm just going to be met with, I'm sorry you feel like that. I'm sorry you feel like that. I'd be like, no, I feel like that because you've made me feel like that. But then I would be like, am I overreacting? And then I'd end up apologizing for overreacting when I hadn't overreacted. I was just putting down a boundary that had been stamped all over. And it just made me laugh because I was like, oh my God, that is me. These couples that are like, we're so chill, we're so laid back, we don't argue. Well, okay, great, but why don't you argue? You're telling me you don't disagree on anything. Like, having healthy discussions about boundaries and having healthy discussions about being able to open up and say, hey, do you know what? You've really hurt my feelings. So then you can find a solution. You're not just saying, I'm really sorry for getting really emotional about that. It's something that I have had to work on in therapy so hard, because I hadn't realized until I went back in my therapy sessions just how much I apologized for my emotions. When I used to say, why can't we do that at the weekend? And I was met with all these things about how much work's been done in the week, how you need to be able to decompress and offload the week, and work's very stressful. And it was like, I'm just asking to go out for breakfast. Like, why can't we do that? And it was like, I'm so sorry for making you feel bad about, you know, working all week and me just wanting to go out for breakfast. Like, I'm really sorry. What? That's not normal. That is not normal. And the more that I break down arguments, and even post breakup, I have found myself in arguments with other people being like, I'm really sorry about getting emotional about that. I'm really sorry for crying over that. And I'm like, no, it's something so hard to unlearn, like so so hard to unlearn. And all these little things are chipping away at your self-worth. And the more uncomfortable conversations with yourself that you have, the more you build a solid foundation to be able to rebuild your self-worth. And I talk a lot about grieving your relationship, maybe grieving like jobs, identities, but like no one really sits when I've looked online to see what sort of advice about self-worth's out there, because I do put a lot of time and effort and research into these podcast episodes. It might look like I'm talking from experience a lot of the time, but I do have a look to see what other advice is out there and how I could contribute to that advice, or how I could like maybe disagree with the advice. My 30-day no contact guide is quite controversial. It goes against everything that people say about going no contact. Not at any point do I say block, delete and chuck your phone in the freezer. A lot of advice online is that, because they say just sever it, cut it off. There's a big creator online that I go against a lot of things that she says, because it's just not how I healed. And I just think I am now in a space in my life where I would say that I have healed from my breakup, and not at any point did I put my phone in the freezer. I might have done if I was really drunk. My sister was telling a story about how she put her phone in the fridge the other day and her remote in the oven or something. She was having a bad day. Anyway, not relevant, but I just didn't do it. So I think everybody heals differently, but no one really talks about grieving the version of yourself that you lost. And what I mean by that is, like, say if you maybe stayed too long, and I'm only talking from experience with this, is that I look and there are certain vivid stories and certain vivid memories that I can remember about having conversations with my ex about liking girls' photos on Instagram, turning up in cities when he said he wasn't there. He said he was at the other end of the country. And I can see myself having these conversations with my ex, and never in a million years would I ever thought I would have tolerated situations like that, because I know for a fact that if my best friends were stood in front of me telling me some of the stuff that I was tolerating, I'd be like, do you want me to bash your head against the wall now, or do you want me to bash your head against the wall later? Like, what are you doing? And my advice that I would give to somebody would differ so largely to the advice that I would give to myself. And when I look back, I had definitely become somebody that I did not recognise at all. And I'd lost my boundaries, I'd lost my voice, I'd lost my glow. And I talk about posting all the way through my breakup without really saying that I was going through a breakup on my running account, because I had put so much hard work into this account. I wasn't allowing my ex to take everything plus my running account. So I posted on social media throughout the whole of the time I was going through my breakup, and I hadn't really thought about going back to the 6 months prior to my relationship ending. And I can only describe myself as being dead behind the eyes. I hadn't realised how much my sparkle had gone and my glow. I was so skinny and just dead behind the eyes, and yet I was in a relationship. And so when my ex left, it took me a long time to realise I wasn't just grieving him and my relationship. I was grieving like the person who I became in the relationship, because a year prior to that, I'm a sparkly little diamond and I'm having the best time every weekend, and I'm glowing and I'm a lot more shapely and I've got sparkly eyes. And it's so hard to be able to look back and think, holy shit, how did that even happen? And I think a lot of it was because obviously we were in lockdown. I think if my mum had seen me day to day, if I was like going to see her, I think she may have said something, but I just wasn't, because it was lockdown and it was hard. And it took me a long time to realise that that wasn't a weakness. Like, the fact that I didn't see that wasn't a weakness, and that my grief was completely valid. But when you think about these situations, it's almost like you are like going through like an emotional detox, because when you start building your self-worth, you feel embarrassed that you acted like that. You feel angry at yourself. You feel annoyed because you missed the red flags or were just point blank ignoring the red flags. You feel shame for not leaving sooner. And there's a few times that I talk about it on my Patreon. There's a few times that I will say that I do not know why I didn't leave. And I should have left a lot sooner. I had hardcore evidence in my hand. I had screenshots. This is when we were in a relationship. And I still forgave and gave out no consequences. There was no consequences to his actions. So no wonder they carried on happening. And I remember sitting in bed one morning and him being like, I just don't know why I'm like this at the moment. It was horrible because I was like, what? And then we went for a walk, and on that walk, it was like I was walking with a stranger, and we have a photograph together from that walk. And when I've looked at it, I've been like, we literally had a conversation in the morning, like, I don't know why I'm acting like this. But then you have to forgive yourself because you have to think of what came before. So it's like the 13 years of like the most incredible time together, the strongest connection, the biggest amount of love, the families, the memories. There's one little conversation you think, oh, it's just a glitch. I talk about going through a relationship, and I always talk to people, and I always say to people, and I give them advice, like 7 years, there's a 7-year glitch. 100%. When you've been with someone for 7 years, you get a glitch. And I don't care what anyone says, it could be 5, 6, 7, but mine was 7 years. After 7 years, there was a glitch in my relationship, and I struggled a lot. And this chapter of healing is about compassion. It's about being able to recognize, okay, I did that and I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to learn from it. It's about compassion. It's not about judgment. You've just started to outgrow a version of yourself that you didn't know better. I didn't know better. So now in a new relationship, over my dead body, would people be getting away with that? Like, I think having a boundary of, I don't like it when you like girls' photographs when they're in bikinis. That's an okay boundary to have as a woman in a relationship with a man who is liking pictures of other women online, single women online. That's an okay boundary to have. You're allowed that boundary. If then I find out, get sent screenshots or find them myself of a guy that I'm with liking other girls' bikini photos or photos of them by themselves, it's not happening. I said to my friend the other day, I'm terrified of getting into a relationship because I've done 3 years single, because the people that like my Instagram photos, sometimes I think, haven't you got a wife? Or haven't you got a girlfriend? I just think micro cheating is a thing, and people can disagree with me on this, and I'm always up for a debate. I love a discussion. Everyone's thoughts and feelings around this are completely different, but my thoughts and feelings are, if my husband was liking pictures of half-naked girls on their Instagram stories, or on their Instagram alone, on their grid page, which is bold, I would take a huge issue with that, because I know how I felt when I was single and other people's husbands and boyfriends did that to me. I'd be like, that's awful. And I would feel sorry for that person who's in a relationship with them. Like, it's a boundary of mine that I know I will take into another relationship because of what had been going on. But at the time in my relationship, I didn't know any better. He was the only person that I've been with. So I have outgrown a version of myself, didn't know better, and that is okay. You don't beat yourself up about that sort of stuff. So how are we rebuilding? And I'm not just going to sit here and be like, stand in front of the mirror every morning and be like, you are a badass. You have got this. You have got to get. So how are we rebuilding our self-worth? And I am not going to sit here and be like, you just need to stand in front of the mirror every morning completely naked and be like, you're a badass. You're going to seize the day. Still do that. You can still do that. That's still valid. I think I must do that most days. I look in the mirror and I think, seize the day. you're a badass. More of my affirmations in the morning are kind of like, with my days, I'm like, whatever happens today was supposed to happen. And that makes me okay with sometimes my plans not going to plan, because I am a perfectionist. I love a list and I love making a plan. Ask any of my friends, I have to have a plan. So I kind of tell that to myself in the morning, but a lot of the advice online kind of stops at like the self-love quotes, like the mirror pep talks. And I remember my therapist saying like, self-worth isn't rebuilt on words alone. It's rebuilt on evidence. And what I mean by this is the power of doing hard things makes your self-worth grow every single time you do something. And this can go quite nicely in hand with like no contact. Keeping a promise to yourself, and I mean in a way that it's like, I promise you I'm going to get through today without doing X, Y, and Z, and doing it. So you've made a promise and you've kept it to yourself. Another one of my big things with me that my therapist was able to like put with the whole self-worth and trusting ourselves work that we did was being able to control and regulate my emotions instead of acting on impulse. Now I sit here and I am very honest that I am a hot-headed girl, and I'm hot-headed when it comes to boundaries, and I can flip like that, and I can feel the burning in my chest come from down within, probably the pits of hell. And I can be very impulsive and I act on my emotions. Like my tongue is quicker than my brain sometimes. I say this, but actually I have got a lot better, and I am working very, very hard not to be as impulsive with my emotions as I used to be. I used to get a text from somebody, my ex, and I'd be like, bam, straight on the phone. Not having that. And the more that you regulate your emotions instead of acting on impulse, your self-worth grows, because you're like, do you know what? You have just saved yourself from a 40-minute conversation that you'd have got nothing out of. You'd have come off the phone, been on your own, been upset. What's the point? So that way your self-worth will grow. Even like making like a huge difficult decision, like a big decision, these things all make your self-worth grow, because you're trusting yourself again. You are trusting your judgment. You're trusting that you're making the right decision for you. I also think that leaving a situation that is misaligned with your values is something that is so hard, and something that I think, spoken about over on my Patreon. It's very hard to leave a situation when you actually break it down and think, hold on, this goes against everything I believe in. And you can be so emotionally involved in those situations and still turn around and say, this isn't for me. Again, your self-worth grows, because this is the growing part of like the self-respect. You are showing yourself that you respect yourself. You've got self-respect. And self-respect comes before self-worth, and you rebuild your self-respect with yourself by honouring your boundaries, by speaking with no guilt, speaking up even when your voice shakes. You might be sat in a meeting and you might be thinking, this isn't my job. You're asking me to do something that's over my job spec, and you've not said anything about a pay increase or like my job role changing or a new title. And you can feel yourself in front of your managers, like your voice shaking. I've been there, I've done it. I've sat in these difficult meetings, I've sat in one-to-ones and gone like, oh my God, I really don't want to say this. But you are respecting your boundaries, you're respecting yourself. I think one of the hardest things that I've struggled with is like chasing people that show me inconsistency. And I chased my ex a lot after we split up, and he was so inconsistent. He was like hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. And it's something that I have struggled with. But not chasing people that have shown you inconsistency is you showing up for you. Like, you don't need that person. I've got you now. Like this new version of yourself, I'm holding your hands. You don't need that person that is showing up so inconsistently throughout your life. They are not good for you. You know, I sit here and I'm a big advocate in journaling, a big advocate in affirmations. I'm a big advocate in talk therapy. All of those things contribute towards your self-worth. But You have to show yourself that you matter. You have to do tiny little acts, the tiny little acts that you do that tell your brain, like, I matter. Going for a walk when you've had a really horrible day and your brain's spiraling. Why are you going for a walk? Because you need to clear your head. Because you matter. Washing your bed sheets. Why? Because you want a nice bed to sleep in at night. Because your sleep matters. You matter. Eating meals at a dining room table. I've recently bought some bar stools that are really comfy. Really delicious bar stools. Eating dinner at a dining room table without sitting and scrolling on your phone, like, endlessly. You're telling yourself, like, I've just cooked this really delicious meal and I'm really going to appreciate it because I matter. And I think, like, doing, like, the brain fog clearing exercises, the adult admin, the filing, making sure you're on top of your payments, going through your payment schedule this month, making sure you've got enough bank money in your bank account, not hiding from your bank account because you know that it's going to be tight this month. All of these little things are you saying to yourself, I matter. Like, I'm going to do all these things because I matter. And there's all the advice online is like, go to the gym, make yourself feel better. And these are all great things, but that's because you know that you're going to get the validation from other people. Like, oh, you look great, you look fantastic. And I'm, again, a big advocate in that you do not have to prove anything to anyone. The only person you have to prove anything to is yourself, because you matter. You're the one looking after you, no one else. And I say it a lot, and I say it a lot in my early podcast episodes, like, no one is coming to save you. It is just you now. So if you're not going to look after you, who's going to look after you? You can't expect somebody to come into your life and be able to figure out all the stuff that's going on in your brain because they're not you. So who's going to come and look after you? It's you. So why are you not doing these things and telling yourself once you do them, I'm doing that because I bloody matter? You know, I think as well with, like, these days with online, like, a lot of people will kind of compare their worthiness to, like, what they do and what you produce, not who you are. And I'm the awful for it, because I'll sit here and say that I'm in the, like, 5 a.m. club, 6 a.m. club. I always have been. But, like, you are not less worthy because you're not productive, like, or fit or strong or going out for the 6 a.m. runs or healing fast or doing better than your ex. Like, your worthiness isn't about that. It's not achievements. It's not, I ran this marathon and then I did this and then I did that. Rebuilding is realizing you don't have to earn your existence. And I always wanted to make my ex proud. Like, I always wanted to make my ex proud. I always wanted him to be able to say to people, like, oh, my girlfriend is this, and my girlfriend's a lawyer, or my girlfriend's this. And I hadn't realized how much pressure I put on myself to be that girlfriend that he could then gloat about. And it was weird, because the more I unpacked that, the more it was like, that wasn't on him. Like, that was fully on me, thinking that that's how I had to show up in the world, because I didn't know any better. So it was more on achievements. And I think that's because I was around my ex, who was not a high achiever at school, but he was good at things. He was good at everything he turned his hand to. And I was kind of there, like, a little bit more introverted than him. I'm now, like, the most extroverted person in the whole entire world. I'm relentless. but at the time I was in the relationship, I'd always push him forward first and be like, you go break the ice and I'll follow. And so I've had to learn how to trust myself again. And I've had to learn that, like, it's okay if I'm not, like, the fittest person in the room. It's okay if I'm not going and doing a high rocks training. It's okay that I'm out at the weekends drinking and partying with my friends, not going to a yoga retreat and drinking mushroom lattes. Like, that is okay. I don't have to be that person that people go, oh, do you know that she does this? I would say that it was an achievement that I go out on a Friday evening and then I can run a half marathon on a Sunday. That is an achievement. Doing two things that I love, drinking and running. Like, I've just had to trust myself that it is okay to show up of who you are, because people get to, like you do, choose whether you are a right fit for their life or if you're not. You lose people because they go, oh, she does this now and I'm just not really into it. And people will come into your life and be like, you look like loads of fun. You look like I could take you anywhere and we'd have a laugh. I want to stay in your life. I want you to stay in my life. There's nothing wrong with someone saying, hey, do you know what? Not for me. The fact that you would consider getting a straw and just having a straw and a bottle of wine sometimes, it's not for me. I can admit in my adult life I've never done that. It has gone through my head though. You know, those people, you will build a circle of people. I have so many people that just absolutely love to go and run. The running community is huge. I've met so many people through running. I talk to people online that share their love of running with me. I have a solid core group of friends that I know I can dial up and go, hey, do you want to go to the pub? It's a Wednesday. And they'll be like, yes. I can go, do you want to go out for breakfast on a Sunday? I've got so many different groups of people. I don't have to prove myself to anybody. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. And finally, I just wanted to just touch on like the reinvention of you. Rebuilding self-worth is not about becoming a new person. It's about becoming the person you've always been underneath the noise, underneath the chaos that I went through in the last 6 months of my relationship and didn't really think anything was traumatic was going on. The person that I was going through my breakup, it's the person that you have always been underneath all of the chaos that you've always been surrounded by. You have to ask yourself, like, what do you genuinely enjoy? Like, I've just reeled off those things there that I genuinely enjoy, and I am not embarrassed to admit that. There's a rave going on in Manchester in a couple of weeks' time, and I am strongly thinking about going on my own because I love music. I absolutely love music. I love house music. And one of my favourite DJs is there. Why wouldn't I go? And I don't care that people look at me and go, God, she's 33 and she's still going to her raves. Yeah. You might be 33 and have had children young. I don't turn around to you and say, my God, you've had children really young. How awful. This is just a life choice of somebody else. You shouldn't be commenting on other people's life choices. Something that I have had to really, 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 really do some work over because, again, like I said, I'm very impulsive. Someone was to say to me, you out again, when I was in the pub, I had to really find my zen not to bite and be like, yep, I am, because it's what I enjoy. And then I have to walk away. But think about what you really enjoy doing. Think about what you value outside of relationships. What are you curious about? What do you think, oh, I wonder if I'd be good at that? Skiing. This is a new thing for me. Not even skiing, snowboarding. I'm like, I think I'd be good at that. I want to try it. Very curious to see if I'm good at it. What version of yourself makes you feel the most free? I know that when I'm on solo hikes on my own, I cannot describe to you how free I feel when I'm up the side of a bloody great mountain, a hill, or a waterfall. I feel alive and I feel like this is amazing. And people are like, oh, we should go on a walk. And I'm like, no, I want to go on my own. There is a reason why I solo hike. I absolutely love it. And I never really wear headphones. I just go and I just really, really love it. I really enjoy it. That version of myself is when I feel the most free. And I go on these hikes with raging hangovers. And I still have the best time because my life is like, you know, I balance everything in my life. Your identity will become so tied up in others, especially when you're in a relationship, that when you lose them, it feels like you're losing yourself. That's why you feel like you have lost like a right arm or a left leg, because your identity was so tied up in somebody else. But you are rediscovering, you are on a journey of rediscovery. You're not rebuilding from scratch. You're just rediscovering things where you think, that's always been in me. My determination, people say, oh my God, you're so determined. And I'm like, yeah, well, I went through a really awful breakup. My determination didn't come from my breakup. I had the same amount of determination when my teacher turned around to me and said, you're never going to get into law school. And I was like, yes, I fucking am. And I did. That, when people say, God, are you so determined? And I think, yeah, that my breakup made me determined. No, it didn't. I've always been this determined. I've always been relentless. You need to create a life that feels safe for you, a strong self-worth comes from living a life that you feel safe in, something that matches your needs, not someone else's expectations of you. You need friendships that pour into you. You need routines that regulate your nervous system. You need hobbies that make you feel alive, that give you runner's high. You need to be able to put yourself in environments that make you feel grounded, the solo hikes. You need to learn how to say yes to things that will expand your life, expand you as a person. All these things will make you realize that you are creating a world that is safe. And that's what I mean by when I say that I have learned how to protect my peace. I have learned how to create a life that makes me feel so safe that I don't ever sit on my own in my house, cry my eyes out anymore. And the final shift will come when you think, I'm actually not chasing that, because I don't have to chase. I'm going to choose. Like, your self-worth rises, your standards rise for definite. And that just happens naturally without like a force, without you being super vocal about it. Like I said in my last week's episode, I've moved so silently this year. I've achieved big things personally for me and myself, and I have moved silently. And I will come out at the end of this year and pat myself on the back, because holy shit, it has been a big year. It's been a year where I've thought, oh my God, I don't think this is going to end. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the end of this year without feeling X, Y, and Z. And let me tell you, I've got to the end of this year and I feel so much better. There's so much stuff you can do silently. Like I said at the start of this episode, self-worth doesn't come from confidence shouting about it. That's not self-worth. Self-worth comes with the harder conversations that you have with yourself. And rebuilding self-worth is not quick. It's not easy. It's not linear. It's frigging hard, but it is the most powerful thing that you do for yourself. Coupled with the no contact guide, and you think, do you know what? I've actually got through day one. I kept a promise to myself. I am going to get through this no contact guide, and I'm going to keep my promise to myself. You're also building your self-worth at the same time. You will look back one day like I have, and you will think, holy shit, that is where I stopped abandoning myself. And I started to come home to myself and say, no, do you know what? I'm safe here and I matter, and I don't have to change. I just have to know that I'm going to rebuild from experience. And that moment alone will be where everything changes. Trust me. I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I really enjoyed that episode. I have had a lot of time to think about where I'm going to move my podcast episodes to, what I want the topics of conversation to be like. That was kind of like a tester to see, like, test the waters, whether you liked it or not. I obviously, like I said, I will keep my breakup content. I have just had a couple of weeks where I've been like, but not heavy on my breakup. I mean, sometimes it is quite hard for me to show up sometimes and talk about things if I'm having a bad time with something. So I like to be able to project positivity. And sometimes when I'm going through something, the last thing I want to do is talk about hard topics. So yes, I love talking about absolutely everything on here, but sometimes they have to be tailored to my mood as well, because like I have just spent this whole episode talking about, like, I have to look after me as well because I matter. So I will get back to my breakup sort of episodes as well. So if you do want me to talk about anything, please just let me know. Please just drop me a DM and I will try and fit in one episode before Christmas. If you want to come over to my Patreon, like I said, my single series is starting soon and is going to be, it's going to be delicious. I'm so excited. I can just imagine like sat in Christmas PJs, bow in my hair, hot chocolate, like just around Christmas Eve, and with like Christmas songs playing in the background with like my Christmas decorations. I'm so excited. Come over and join me on my Patreon. It's £5 a month. The single series is going to be available on there as well for a different tiered price. Not sure what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be available over there. There is also 100+ episodes over there. Like I said, I talk about everything, more personal issues and things that I went through over there. So come and join us on that if you want to. My no contact guide is also available if you want to listen to this episode and go onto my no contact guide. They pretty much can go hand in hand as well. If not, guys, I will catch you here next Friday for another hours long episode. Look after yourself. Bye.